After my second year, I turned it down, came down to Georgia, finished up down here. Didn't get to play pro ball. It never happened again. But anyway, decided to live down here, met a girl, got married, started a family, started a business, started coaching my kids. And when my kids got to the recruiting age, they decided they wanted to play in college like their old man had. And I didn't know what to do. I was like, oh my God, what do I do? And my kids tried out for the top travel teams in the area, made the top teams. We got promised the world by the travel organizations. We'll do this. We know all these coaches will do it. None of it happened. So all the parents are frustrated coming to me looking for help, and I didn't know what to do. So I called my old coach who was still coaching. I called a couple other college coaches I knew, started kind of getting an idea. But anyway, long story short, that's what led me into the recruiting business 14 years ago. I sold my business and started doing this. Been very fortunate. I've helped over 1,800 kids go play in college. Just in the last couple of weeks, I've had 7 commit, had about 26 new offers, 27 class. It's really starting to roll now. So how many of you guys are 27s? It's time. I mean, it's right now, they're all over the 27s. So, but anyway, it's just, I love what I do. I've had the opportunity. The kid that won the home run derby this year, big leagues, Jordan Walker, was a kid that I got to work with. Martin Sheeler just signed for 7 figures with the Red Sox. I got to work with. So I work with guys like that. I work with guys that go and play, NAIA, JUCO, D3, all over the place. So, but anyway, since I've been in the business, a lot has changed. I used to do these seminars all the time, probably my first 6 or 7 years in the business, and I felt like I just said the same thing over and over because nothing changed. Well, once COVID hit, a lot has changed, and it's changing even now. It just changed 2 days ago when the judge granted the 2022s that 5th year of eligibility that nobody thought they were going to have. I mean, it's crazy. Everything is getting tougher. All the rule changes are benefiting the guys already in college, not benefiting you guys. So it's just getting harder and harder. And there's less opportunities because 1,800 D1 opportunities disappeared. Where are those guys going to go? They start moving down through the lower divisions, and it's pushing kids out the end. So anyway, it's very, very competitive, more competitive than ever to get recruited. So the things that haven't changed though are coaches, one, are looking for great kids, great student athletes, and I mean student, great grades going to help you a lot. So they're looking at academics, they're looking at guys, they're not necessarily there trying to find who's the hardest thrower on the field or who hits the ball the furthest, but the guy that fits into the program. So all this training's great, do it. You need to do it, but just know there's more to it than that, okay? Having a great attitude, being a great teammate, things like that. That's what they're looking for. So anyway, great kids is what they want in their program. They don't want somebody that's going to come in and cause problems, somebody that doesn't want to come in and work hard. They want good examples, good teammates. So anyway, but the physical part, that's become huge. I was 21 years old when I finished my eligibility to play college baseball. 21 is pretty young. There's guys now playing 24 and 25 years old. So those are the guys you were competing against for spots. You're an 18-year-old freshman coming in, you're competing with a 24-year-old. So you've got to get physical. You've got to get ready, okay? Get in the gym. How many of you guys are already working out here? Oh, pretty much everybody. All right, good. Stay in here. Stay in here. Man, keep getting bigger, keep getting stronger. Nobody's ever going to tell you you're too strong, that you throw too hard, you run too fast, or you hit the ball too hard. So never be happy with what you have. Those of you who Martin. When I first started working with him, it was Christmas time his sophomore year. He hadn't played any varsity ball yet, knew he was talented, but he just basically, we were sitting at their dining room table, and he looked at me and said, Mr. Ewing, what do I have to do? Where do I need to be to play D1? So I kind of laid it out to him. I said, here's where your metrics are right now. Here's where they need to be. The kid was never happy. He just kept going, and all of his numbers kept going. Look, it paid off. I mean, he had the chance to play college ball, but he doesn't need that now. But anyway, don't ever be happy with what you're doing. Always strive to be better. Keep working hard, outwork everybody. You come, I've had several guys over the years that have come here and done Velocity Max. It works, but you have to buy in and put in the work. You can't just show up. You don't just show up to the gym and, by osmosis, it works. You've got to come in and put in the work. So buy in and do the work. All right. Talk about a few things. I'm not going to talk long, but, things that you guys can do to help yourself out. One, how many of you guys have got a good list of schools that you're interested in? So most of you have given it some thought where you want to go for reasons like maybe it's academics, maybe it's location, maybe, whatever, but have a good idea. All right. Now you got to get those coaches to know who you are. Okay. You can't just sit back and hope that they're going to discover you. Okay, it doesn't really work that way. So you got to get your information out there to the coaches, all right? Be active on sending emails. Send emails to the coaches. If you want to go play for Piedmont, you should be emailing Coach Scally, Coach Pierce, okay? If you want to play at Emory, you should be emailing Coach Perez or Coach Twidorsky or Coach Carpenter, all right? Let them know you're interested. Be active on social media. Follow them, okay? If they don't ever hear from you, they're never going to know that you're interested. So you guys got to be active and let coaches know how interested you are. All right. Then you got to try to get them out to see you, and you hope when they come see you, you have a great game. I was talking to Coach Perez earlier. We were at a game, at the same game at Mountain View, and he came out to watch a kid play, and wanted to see the kid hit. Well, he never got to see him hit because first time it wasn't a great at bat. He struck out, but big deal, everybody does. The second time he came up, he got hit by a pitch. Third time he comes up, and Coach Perez was excited he's going to finally get to see him hit. It was a walk-off balk while he was standing in the batter's box. So never got to see him hit. So anyway, that's what makes it challenging and makes it tough. So you've got to get them to know who you are and make sure they can see you. Go to their camps, okay? Camps are an important part of the process. Get to their camps. Coach can find out a lot more about you at the camp. They can see, if they want to see you hit 12 times, they can let you hit 12 times. They can't go do that at East Cobb or at Lake Point, okay? So, you want to get to their camps, and getting to the camp is also showing that you have interest in their program. You're not going to go to a camp if you don't have interest in that school, I'm assuming. So you want to go. That gives you an opportunity to interact with the coaches, get to know them, talk with them, let them get to know you. So, camps are an important part of this. I hear all the time. So one of the things that I do with my business is I help all my prospects figure out what camp is a good camp to go to for them. It's not the same camp for everybody, but try to do that. And that's the, you got to get to the right camps in front of the right coaches, and then hopefully you do the right thing. So anyway, trying to think. I made some notes, but all right. Social media. I'll go back to Twitter or X. How many of you guys are on there? All right. What do you guys do when you're on there? Post stats, metrics, videos, and stuff. All right. How many college coaches do you follow? A lot? All right. Good. What about the rest of you? 50? Keep following them, man. Keep following them. That's one thing that I preach to my kids. Follow a lot of coaches. The more you put out there, the more opportunity gets seen, and then all of a sudden the coach follows you back. You've opened up a line of communication. Now you can DM with them. So be very active on social media, but be very careful about what you post, okay? Should all be about baseball. And the fact that I went 2 for 3 last night, drove in 2 runs, helped my team win. Things like that. Put the videos on there. Don't just be humble, but show what you did. Don't sit there and like, oh man, I'm the best player in the world. Don't do things turned off. Parents, how many of you guys are on social media or on Twitter? The best thing you can do, like it, retweet it, and nothing else. I just got done with a kid I was working with. His dad drove me nuts, but thank God he's finally committed. But every time I posted something, he retweeted, and somebody's going to get a dude. This dude is the best, it's his son. The kid would have probably been committed a long time ago if his dad wouldn't have been trying to help me. I'll just say that. So parents, just sit back, enjoy the ride, support your kids, make sure they have everything they need, but stay off the social media. When the coaches are at the ball field, don't come up and talk to them. That's another thing I had to deal with. But anyway, you get one shot at doing this. You want to do it right. You don't want to do anything that's gonna screw that up. Like I said, I'm not gonna keep talking, but I will stick around if you guys have any questions. I know Dave introduced Juan. Juan was a college coach for over 30 years, knows way more than I ever could dream of knowing about college baseball and all this. So I'm learning a lot from him. He just came to work with me. My company, we have other guys around. We have guys in the Northeast, down in South, all over. So we all work together just with the same goal, is trying to help guys go play in college. And we feel like we're very good at it. Would love to, stick around and answer any questions if y'all have any.
All right, thanks for that, Mike. I'm going to let Coach Scally talk to you guys next. Coach Scally does an awesome job of breaking down what college coaches are looking for from certain positions. I love when he does this. We did this on a podcast, a couple years ago, and I was like, man, everybody needs to hear this, and it's super honest. So I'm going to let him do that first, and then I'll let Coach Pierce talk, and then I'll let Coach Bobby Perez come up and talk. Coach?
Appreciate you. Can you hear me in the back? I'm a New Yorker, so my voice carries pretty good. But happy to be here. Thanks for having me, Dave. As he said, I'm the head coach at Piedmont University. We're NCAA Division III. Okay, so Dave asked me to kind of cover what we look for in a player from a positional standpoint. And then my assistant, Coach Pierce, who works with our hitters, is going to kind of take it from the offensive side of things and what we're looking for in a recruit. So I'll quickly go around the field, some of the attributes we're looking for defensively, and then also obviously on the mound as well. First off, the prerequisites there. This is assuming it's an academic fit, first and foremost, and then assuming we have a major that you're interested in studying, right? A guy I worked for at my first school many years ago used to say we can tolerate differences but not distractions, right? If you are an academic or a behavior concern or distraction, right, that's not going to be a good fit in any program. Mike talked about it being a good person, being a good kid. A lot of times coaches will say, or people will ask me, do you have favorite players? I absolutely have favorite players. They're low maintenance, they work hard, they show up on time, they do what they're supposed to do in the classroom. They're easy to coach, right? Those are players that are always a joy to be around. Going around the field, starting behind the plate, we got any catchers here? Okay, so we got a catcher here. So some of the things we're looking for behind the plate, number one is how you handle the pitching staff. That's the number one priority. Handling the pitching staff and how you receive. From a defensive standpoint, you're going to receive 10 times more than you're going to block and throw. You obviously have to be able to be competent in blocking the baseball, and then you have to be able to obviously exchange the baseball and throw accurately. Can't be a liability against a stolen base, but the bulk of what you're going to do is handle the pitching staff. The guy that caught for us the majority of the games this year batted for us 8th or 9th, towards the bottom third of our order, but does an outstanding job at managing the pitching staff and winning strikes, right? Winning those marginal pitches are absolutely vital to turn a count in your favor. So receiving is really where we're going to really hone in on the evaluation from a defensive side with our catchers, is how do they receive the baseball? Like I said, it's going to be what you do more than anything else, right? Your presence and demeanor are very important in that position too. A lot of people say the catcher can see the whole field, which is of course true, but the whole field can also see the catcher too, right? So your body language can be positive or negative. A lot of pitchers, and I was a pitcher, so I'm speaking from experience, right? They can be influenced by your body language too. So learning which types of motivational ways you can help your pitchers, right? Some guys need a little bit more, kick in the pants. Other guys maybe a little more arm around the shoulder, right? Understanding the different personalities on the pitching staff. But again, it's receiving, blocking, and throwing. Okay, that's what you're going to do most. And again, we'll get to the offense. I'll let Coach Pierce cover kind of what we're looking for offensively in total. All right. Corner infield spots. Okay, corner infield spots. Those are spots where you're going to have to produce offensively. Most of the time, you're going to be in the middle of the order. If you're a corner infield guy in college baseball, not always, but a lot of times you're going to project to be a middle of the order run producer. Okay. from the offensive standpoint, but defensively, they're a little bit, the difficulty of playing corner infield is a little bit underrated, in my opinion, okay? You get infrequent, difficult chances on defense at third base and first base. The athleticism at those positions are also underrated. You have to be able to handle the bunt game. You have to be able to handle throwing from different angles, rundowns, communication, those kind of things at the corner infield, vital positions. Again, challenging, infrequent chances in the corner infield. The biggest difference between the middle infield and the corner infield, a lot of times the corner infield is more of a one-handed defensive position. You're going to have more plays that you make one-handed, where in the middle infield, you might have a little more time to make some more two-handed plays, right? So those are going to be different types of balls that you have to be able to, plays you have to be able to make. Transitioning that to the middle infield, high IQ there in the middle infield. High IQ, right? You're quarterbacking the field at shortstop. You're involved in almost every single cut, relay, rundown, first and third, fly ball communication, right? The shortstop has to be one of the smartest players on the field. They have to be fully involved, an excellent communicator. Okay, and obviously you got to dominate the routine play. Okay, you got to dominate the routine play. You got to be able to turn a double play. You have to be able to throw on the run. You have to be able to make plays to your right and left, right? When you talk about the middle infield and where you range to make plays, right? Your play, if you kind of heat mapped where your plays are, it's a little more lateral, where in the corner infield, it's a little more up and back, right? There's some lateral, but it's not going to be as wide, obviously, because you're closer to the field. Specific to second base, right? We tell our second baseman this all the time. Dominate the routine play and turn a double play into a hurricane, right? You have to be able to turn a double play. I think when you look at really good high-level teams in college baseball, any level you're talking about, junior college, NAIA, D3, D2, D1, high-level baseball teams get the double play when the double play is presented, right? 2 outs on 1 pitch is such an enormous play in the game. Dave referenced it earlier. We played in a super regional last year, and in the regional championship game, they had so much traffic the entire game. Base runners all over the place. We turned 3 double plays in the first 4 innings. 2 of them were with the bases loaded and 1 out. Right? We're probably not winning the game there if A, we don't throw a quality pitch to induce a ground ball, but B, if we don't turn the double play. Right? A routine double play ball where we only get 1, right? That means a run scores there. Now, we do say all the time 1's a must and 2 is a plus. Okay? We say that all the time. We got to make sure we get 1. But boy, when it's a double play, right, you got to be able to turn that. And boy, that really hones in on our middle infielders. Okay? Specific to the outfield, we're a team that historically we're pretty good on the team speed side of things around the whole field. Our DH stole 15 bases last year. Our first baseman, third baseman, catchers, they're all going to run at some point. They can all be a member of our base stealing stuff that we do. But obviously in the outfield, that's where you're going to hopefully have a lot of team speed. The majority of our outfielders run very, very well. We play in a big ballpark with a lot of ground to cover, right? So in recruiting, Coach Perez does a great job at Emory. They've been a nationally ranked program for a couple decades. They have great players too. But they're going to recruit to their style, their ballpark, the way they're going to play, their academics, right? All those things are going to be, come into play. But for us in the outfield, we try to get to 100 stolen bases a year. We play 40 regular season games. So we're trying to steal, whatever that is, 2.5 bases a game. I think we got to about 110 last year. You got to have a guy with 30 or 40 to do that probably. But everyone can have a role in your base stealing stuff. But again, the outfielders are the ones that end up being usually our fastest players, okay? Covering ground, your routes and angles, okay? Outfield defense is one of the harder things to practice, okay, at practice, right? Because fielding the batted ball is tough to simulate with a machine or with a fungo, right? Outfielders, we got any outfielders here? When can you get the best work that you get on the field is during batting practice, right? Live batting practice. So we treat live batting practice very, very seriously for a defensive purpose, and especially for our outfielders. Coach and myself spend a lot of time policing our pitching staff, because what do the pitchers want to do when their day is done, right? What do they want to do? They want to shag, right? They want to go play center field. They want to go play left field. And those are vital reps for us defensively, okay? So that's kind of around the field, what we're looking for defensively. The last thing I'll cover is on the mound. I am our head coach, but I coach our pitchers from a positional standpoint. The way we kind of divide our on-field duties, Coach Pierce and myself, he runs the offense, works with our infielders. I work with our pitchers, and I kind of maybe more coordinate our defensive efforts while he's coordinating more of the offensive efforts, okay? But specific to the pitchers, there's 4 things that I've always said that are good pitchers, okay, our pitchers that are performing at an all-conference, all-region, all-American level, they all have 4 things in common that they do well. Number 1, they throw fastball to both sides of the plate. The better the hitter, the more you have to pitch people in and out, okay? The better the hitter, the more they're going to need fastballs on both sides of the plate. You guys that hit, you know if you face a pitcher that doesn't threaten you on the inner portion of home plate, it's a pretty comfy at-bat. We're trying to make at-bats uncomfortable, right? When you play a school like Emory, if you're one-dimensional on the mound, they are going to hit a lot of extra base hits, and you're going to spend a lot of time backing up third base. Okay, so fastball to both sides of the plate. Number 2, 2 off-speed pitches in the strike zone. And when I say 2 off-speed pitches in the strike zone, I lump your breaking balls as 1 off-speed pitch. So if you're a curveball and a slider guy, or a curveball and a cutter, that's your breaking ball, and then a change of pace pitch as well. Could be a split, a changeup, a forkball, a change of pace pitch, and your breaking ball arsenal. Those 2 things in the strike zone. So you are a 3-pitch strike thrower minimum, okay? Those guys are easier to call pitches for. If you have 3 pitches that you can throw on both sides of home plate, you're a good matchup for any hitter that may walk in the batter's box. If you're a right-handed pitcher, for example, and you can throw fastball away and slider away to the righty, and fastball away and changeup away to the lefty, it minimizes the type of hitter that you're a good matchup for. If you can pitch everybody in, you can throw your breaking ball to glove side and arm side. You can throw right on right changeup. You can throw right on left changeup, left on left changeup, right? If you have the ability to command 3 pitches to both sides of the plate, that makes a pitch caller's job a little more simple. Okay, so it's fastball to both sides of the plate, 2 off-speed pitches for strikes. Number 3 is you have to be able to field your position. We've talked about defensive things we look for around the field. A pitcher is the easiest player on the field to expose if they're a poor defender, right? It's a lot easier to bunt the baseball than it is to hit it. And if you can't defend your position, okay, you can become a liability, and then you are no longer a person that can really pitch in big moments, because good teams that we play can expose that very, very quickly. Okay, so number 3 is field your position. You don't have to be a gold glove defender, but you have to dominate the routine play. You have to be able to stick throws on comebackers. You have to back up bases, cover bases, understand our bunt principles, all of that. And then lastly, number 4, which I think is the most difficult for a young player getting into our program, is controlling the running game. It's not as emphasized in high school baseball from what I see, and it's the thing where I think our talented pitchers that we get into our program, it's where we have to do the most teaching, is how to control the running game. Now, fortunately for us, we steal a lot of bases, so our freshman pitchers this fall will learn very, very quickly that if they can't control the running game, every time a guy gets on first, he's going to be on third base within a few pitches, right? If you don't have the ability to control the running game. Now, that doesn't mean you have to have the best pickoff move in the country, but you have to be able to understand mixing up your hold times, accurately pick off the baseball, right? And be able to do those things to just limit attempts. All we're trying to do is limit attempts. Coach Pierce hears me say this all the time, but it's a goal of mine every single season. We've only done it once. We've been close many years, though. We want to have less stolen base attempts against us than number of games we played, right? So if we play, 48 games, we're trying to keep our attempts under 48. Our opponent's stolen base attempts, right? And you limit attempts by being able to hold the baseball different times, those kind of things, right? What's a big difference between college baseball and high school baseball for a pitcher, right? What do we have on the behind home plate? A clock, right? There's a clock. You have a pitch clock, right? So that's another learned skill that a lot of our freshmen haven't participated or pitched with, is understanding that there's a pitch clock and action clock in college baseball. So understanding that clock, right? We have pitch clocks at our field now, thankfully, but not every place will. So you have to have that clock in your head of when I need to pick over there, throw the pitch, have to increase my pace and those kind of things, okay? So that's kind of a 40,000-foot view, if you will, of what we're looking for from a defensive standpoint around the field, okay? Myself and Coach Pierce will be here after. You may have specific questions about your position or some things we look for. Again, guys, but all of that, the prerequisite for all of that is that you're an academic fit and that we have a major that you're interested in studying. It is very unlikely that we are coaching professional athletes, despite the fact that the majority of our players aspire to be that, okay? The majority of if you asked our locker room how many guys want to play professional baseball, every hand's going to go up. And as I know it was that way for me too, right? I was, when I played in college, I wanted to play for the Yankees. I'm a New Yorker, like I said, so I get it. That's the dream. But the percentages are not in your favor. So what you do in the classroom's got to drive the decision, okay? So again, we'll be here for questions after. I'm going to turn over to Coach Pierce, who does a phenomenal job with our offense. He won't tell you, but we set every offensive record we have last year. He's too humble to tell you that, but he does a great job with our offense. So I'm going to let him talk about now, not position specific, just when we're watching a hitter, some of the things we're looking for, all right?
Hey everybody, my name's Trey Pierce. This will be my 4th year at Piedmont. Like Coach Scally said, I think these guys will agree with me. We could talk hitting for hours on end. Just going to try to give you an overview of what we look for tonight, talk a little bit about base running, and then like Mike said, kind of tell you a little bit about our camp and why camps are so important to us. So first off, when looking at a hitter, when I go watch showcases all summer or I go recruit, the first thing I notice is your physicality. I had somebody ask me that this summer, hey coach, what's the first thing you notice when you come out to watch us play? Is the physicality piece. If you fill out a uniform, if you look good in your uniform, you have my attention right away. So when you hear that from the strength and conditioning guys, talk about putting food into your body, constantly trying to get as physical as possible, please listen, because we could go into that all night as well. So the physicality piece is first. When I look at hitters and when we talk about hitters with our guys, mechanically we have 5 checkpoints that we look for throughout your swing. Not going to go into all 5 tonight. Going to give you 3 big ones that we kind of look for. If I'm out recruiting in the summer, I'm going to video a guy from the side because I truly believe, and I tell our hitters, video is our most important and key asset to helping us make those swing adjustments mechanically, right? If we can't see it on video, we're just talking about it, we're not going to be able to make those adjustments. So videoing from the side, I know you guys have great moms and dads that are doing it all summer. Put it in slow motion, right, to help even more. That's what our guys do all fall, all spring, all summer when they're sending me stuff when they're gone. Okay, so now we're looking at video from the side. The first thing we look for is, are you getting to a good hitting position? Right? Are you getting into your backside? You're going to be on time for the fastball, but can you ride the wave from there and sit back even longer for the off-speed pitches, right? All of that goes into getting into a good spot and getting to a good hitting position, which unfortunately watching this summer, more than half the kids I watch just don't get to a good spot. Okay, so that's the first thing we look for. The second thing, when is your barrel getting into the zone, right? Are you getting flat early back here, or are you steep, or are you dumping it right away? So when you're watching that video in slow motion, when is that barrel entering the zone? Coach and I watch film on hitters all spring. We're scouting the other teams, and I can't tell you how many times when we're playing some of the great teams we play against, Coach says, man, this guy's in the zone for a really, really long time. Okay, and it makes that guy really, really hard to pitch against. Okay, so that's the second thing. When are we entering the zone with our barrel? The third, and maybe the most important, is what does your contact point look like? Because I'm out all summer and I hear coaches talk about get it out front, get it out front, get your contact point further out front, which is important, right? But where was that pitch located? If that pitch is inside, yes, we want to catch it further out front and get it off to the pull side. But I think guys in high school that struggle the most is letting that ball travel even further and shrinking that contact point in that window to about halfway through our body for that deepest contact point. Okay, that's pretty specific. Mechanically, we talk about with our guys, the furthest out front that we want to make contact is that our front foot or just inside. Everything else happens deeper than that. Okay, so those are just some things we look for mechanically. Like I said, not all 5 checkpoints, but probably the 3 most important. And video is your best friend. Always constantly taking video. Aside from the mechanics, a lot of what we talk about is approach as well. We want to win the first pitch of every single AB. We talk about all the time, get in the box, be ready to be on go. Okay, I know these coaches will talk about and agree with me here. The worst thing that we see when we go to showcases or we go watch kids play is them take pitches, right? And they're just trying to walk, right? We talk to our guys, you can't walk off the island. I want to see you get your swing off. I'm not going to recruit you because you walked. I'm going to recruit you because you were in there ready to hit. Okay, so we say that the 0-0 pitch and the 1-1 pitch are the most important pitches that we're trying to win during an AB. I believe the further we get into the at-bat, the pitcher is winning. We want to do our damage early, okay? At our first team meeting of the year, when we talk with our hitters, I'll put up on the board our averages and counts from the previous year. And our guys are amazed that all of our hitter counts are light years ahead average-wise than in pitcher counts, right? Because they're in charge and they're ahead, and now we're having to deal with the nasty breaking stuff when we took the 0-0 fastball. Or we missed the 1-1 fastball and now he's ahead. Okay, so we talk about being on go as far as our approach early. Now, how tough can our guys be with 2 strikes? Coach was talking a little bit about stats. If our guys have double the walks to strikes, that's a win for us, right? Can you be tough with 2 strikes? Can you put something in play? You see it all the time now. You're watching a major league game and they're talking about at that level how good it was that the guy just put something in play and something good happened. Okay, so cutting down the Ks with 2 strikes. I think looking at our base running system, Coach touched on it a little bit. 2 years ago, we stole 100 bags. This past year, we stole 125. This year, the goal is 150. We look for athletes that can get on base and run. When we come watch you play, when you get on base, we want to see you run. Now, not just running with your head cut off to say you tried to steal the base, but being selectively aggressive and picking the right times to run. Are you timing up the pitcher? Is he consistently repeating the same time over and over again? Does he take one high leg kick and you're out of there because you know it's going to be a slower time? So things we look for there on the base running side, are you aggressive going first to third? Do you have tight turns around the bases, or are you almost knocking over your third base coach because your turn was so wide? Okay, so just the little things we look there from a base running perspective. Talking about our camps, like Mike said, they're so important. Our camp is so valuable to us because we feel like we're truly able to evaluate a player during that time. Our camps are set up over 2 days. We have one camp in September. Our last one is in November. The first day is a pro-style workout day. You'll run your 60. You'll throw from the outfield, throw from the infield behind the dish, BP on the field so we can see it, and then pitchers will get to throw bullpens on our game mound in front of Coach Scally. So that's day 1. Day 2, you come back. If you're a position player, you get to play in 2 live games. If you're a pitcher, you'll get to throw an inning or 2 live. Those are so valuable to us. If we see you and like you in the summer, but we need a bigger sample, we'll invite you to camp. And I know we've talked about it already tonight, but finding the right fit for you. I was a Florida guy, JUCO, very tunnel vision on Division I. There were no Division III schools in Florida. There still aren't. That wasn't even a thought for me. Went to junior college. Coach at LaGrange recruited me all year long from my sophomore year. I was going to hang it up and just go to school at Florida State. But, I felt this guy has been recruiting me all year long. He wants me to be a part of his program, and I thought that was pretty special. And the rest was history from there. Was lucky to win 3 rings at LaGrange. And even better, I was connected with Piedmont, having played against them, and most thankful for where it got me to today. So when Mike talks about finding the right fit for you, narrowing down those lists of schools, having those honest conversations with your coaches, your parents, hey, maybe we shouldn't chase UGA. Maybe we should look at Division IIs or Division IIIs because we care about playing time, and you guys want to get there and make an impact and have a chance to win baseball games. So all good in that department. Like Coach said, if you have any questions for us, feel free to hang around. Fellas, if there's a piece of advice I could give you tonight that I wish I could go back and do more of, is go home and thank somebody, right? You're here for a reason because somebody's supporting you to be here, paying for your travel ball, helping you out with that. Make sure you thank somebody tonight because you couldn't do it without them. Appreciate y'all.
Hey guys, I'm Bobby Perez. I'm the head baseball coach at Emory University. And I mean this with absolutely all due respect. I wish Trey would have gone to Florida State, okay? It would have made his life and my life a lot easier for a number of years, all right? He was a really good player, a really good hitter, all right? Look, these guys have covered a ton of stuff, and there's more to come, all right? I don't have a lot to go over. They've covered a ton of it. But what you're hearing a lot of, and we talk about it with our guys today, and it's more than it was 10 years ago, you have to marry the science of baseball And that has grown astronomically in the last 10 or 15 years with what we call the art of baseball. Okay? All those things he's talking about. Turns around first base. Being able to control the fastball regardless of how hard you throw the fastball. All right? There's so many things that go into this game. All right? There's the science and the training piece. And again, that stuff has it has taken off in the last 10, 15 years. What's measurable? How do we quantify it? Okay? But then how do you apply it? And so much what we see in the recruiting process, you want to see guys, certain numbers jump off the page, and then you want to go see it in action, in practice. And that's where you have to work really hard to marry those two things, okay? Because so many times you'll see guys that have one and not the other, whether it's the science piece, great measurables, and then we call them 5 o'clock hitters because they can't hit once the lights go on. Or vice versa. There's a guy that doesn't jump off the page from a metric standpoint, but you just go watch him play and he just gets hits. He just does the right thing. His game speed is faster than whatever the stopwatch says in the 60. Okay? So there's a lot of ways to skin this cat. Okay? But you have to work at all of it to eventually get there and hopefully marry both of those up. And that's essentially what everybody's saying here tonight. Okay? And this just gives you the opportunity to try and do that as best as possible. And again, that has come a long ways in a very short amount of time. All right? That's kind of that point. I'll touch a little bit on the recruiting process. Obviously, Mike did a wonderful job, and he can tell you a ton more than I can. All I'm going to say from your standpoint is you need to be your own best advocate. All right? They touched on it, okay? As much as you would like to think college coaches are just going to find you, or major league scouts, it doesn't matter. Any level of college, okay? That's not always the case. It's very rarely the case, okay? Because you have that 1% of the 1% that just stand out the moment they walk on the field, right? And that's a very, very small percentage of people. They just do it differently. They walk out there, physically they look different, ball comes off the bat, it sounds different, ball pops the mitt, and it just is different. Those guys are first-round draft picks. Those are easy to see, okay? But across the board, finding a place to play where you want to go to school, you have to be your own best advocate. You've got to do some research. Where do you fit academically? Okay? Where do you fit level-wise playing? All right? All of those things, you have to do a little bit of research, okay? Because, again, there's only so many spots at the University of Georgia, the University of Alabama, the University of Texas, UCLA. There's only so many spots, and there's less and less because the portal's eating those spots. And you're hearing about this, okay? But there's a lot of places to play. There's a lot of levels to play. And hopefully you have some folks, you have to have honest conversations with high school coaches, with summer ball coaches, with whoever's helping you out, okay, that you're having those conversations where this could be the fit, this might not be the fit, whatever the case may be, so that you're putting yourself in the best position. And obviously they've talked about camps and all those things, putting yourself in those positions. But you've got to have realistic conversations about where it is that it might be a fit for you. And again, there's a lot of fits. There's the baseball fit, the social fit, the academic fit. What size college you want to go to. How far are you willing to go away to school? All of those things. There's a million things that go into that. But then you have to put yourself out there. Because if you just think somebody's just going to find you, it's more than likely not the case. All right? And you've got to reach out and, again, be your own best advocate in this process. Okay? Because you don't know what door you're going to open. I get it. You might send an email and you might not get a response. It only takes one. It only takes one. That one person responds back, opens a door, opens an opportunity, and all of a sudden, now you might have a chance to play for the next 4 years of your life. All right? And probably the best 4 years of your life, because college is a great experience. All right? So again, you've got to be willing to do that work, have those conversations, all right? And then put yourself out there. Reach out. Give the information that they need. All right? Send them your academic information. Send videos. Send those numbers that you have. All of those things, you never know where it might lead. All right? Again, we'll be around. I'll be around after. You're more than welcome to come talk to me as much as you'd like. Be happy to answer any questions for you, and we wish you guys the best of luck.
All right, so those three guys just gave you guys a lot of really good information from college coaches. What sticks out to me, Coach Scally did the pitching breakdown. I know that I hear Greg preach a lot of that stuff day in, day out. And I know it's like when you listen to your dad say something, you don't want to listen. When you hear somebody else say something that makes sense, right? There's a lot of similarities in the way Greg looks at pitchers and the way Coach Scally looks at pitchers. So for you velo guys, those 4 things, pitching to both sides of the plate, something we're going to work on. How the off-speed pitches are broken down and how we look at them, something we're going to work on. If you are a fat you-know-what and can't get off the mound and field your position, that's something we got to work on in the weight room. And then controlling the running game. That's stuff that we can't ignore just because we're inside. Hitters. I don't know if I've ever heard anybody give a hitting breakdown as close to how Coach Dom coaches our hitters as what Coach Pierce just said. Okay? Very similar approach and style. And I would say that if we're talking about building the complete offensive player, that's probably Piedmont's approach to the offensive game. It's not just home run hitters. It's not hitters for average. It's complete offensive players so that they can work around the offense that they're building. Listening to the speed conversation with the outfielders. It's exactly what we've been talking about with building speed. Every single guy in this room needs to get faster. There are college players faster than you at your position that look just like you, your same size, your same height, your same weight. Bigger, faster, stronger. Okay, that's a really important piece of this whole thing. What Coach Bobby just broke down for you guys talking about just the art of baseball and appreciating that and being thankful. Guys, there's nothing more important than that. Every player in this room, I'm looking at all the guys around here, every player in this room is capable of playing college baseball someday. Now, whether or not you get there, a lot of that has to do with you and the work you put in and the opportunities you create and how you advocate for yourself. But from a talent perspective, I've seen worse players than are in this room go play college baseball, and I mean that. Okay? And that's not a knock on you guys. You guys are good baseball players. I know all of you. But I really appreciate those guys doing that breakdown. What I want to do right now, and this is perfect timing, Dr. Corey Arnold just walked in, just got off work, probably tired, treating people all day. But we're going to let him talk a little bit and piggyback off of the strength and conditioning and performance side of the game and just let you guys understand how important the health side is, some of the stuff that we see often with guys, and just being proactive about the health side. Corey, good to see you, bud.
How's it going? Can I clip this?
You can clip it.
Yeah. All right, cool. I think I know most of you guys. I'm just going to hold this. I think I know most of you guys. My name's Corey. I'm the PT that works here. And a lot of times I feel like I give kind of the same speech when I come in as a PT for most of you guys, just because you get the background of the strength, you get the hitting, you get the throwing, you get the coaching. And then a lot of times the forgotten piece in a lot of these conversations is the PT or the recovery side, right? So one of the things that I look at for most of the athletes is what creates a good baseball player, right? And so if I ask each one of you guys, everybody would have a different answer. But on my side as a rehab professional, my number one trait of a good baseball player is being available. Because it doesn't matter how fast you are, it doesn't matter how hard you throw, it doesn't matter how well or how far you hit the baseball, if you can't stay healthy to be on the field. And I think that's where having a good recovery plan and session matters more than every bit of strength training, every bit of hitting, every bit of throwing matters, because if you do not have a plan in place for your body to recover, then you will not be able to succeed long term, right? Like what makes Verlander so good at 43, right? He made it, 20 years in the bigs because he kept his body healthy. And ultimately you have to become basically the person and the source where you're able to communicate, hey, I'm sore. Okay, who are you telling that you're sore? Are you telling your coach? Are you telling your parents? Are you talking to the healthcare professional? Because sometimes aches and pains happen, especially in programs like this. You throw, your arm gets sore. Is it something that you need to see a professional about, or is it just, hey, you threw 100 and something pitches yesterday, we probably need to take a day off, right? So realistically, when I work primarily with the strength, I work very heavily with Shannon for the most part, where guys will get aches and pains, they'll get knocks. Hey, I was deadlifting the other day, my back is sore. Do I need to lay off of anything? And that's where I typically communicate back and forth with most of the strength staff. Coaches on the upper levels typically work with the trainers pretty heavily. So typically they have some sort of communication with the athletic trainer of knocks and aches and pains that kind of come through. And so the big thing for me is just making sure that your arm stays healthy. I think that at this age in high school, most people don't really know what arm care is. I feel like you get taught and you get coached up on what arm care is, but realistically, you guys don't know what actually goes into arm care, because I promise you it's not just J-bands, right? When you throw on a day-to-day basis, you might be a guy that needs to stretch more. You might need to be a guy that has to have a little bit more of a primer before his next outing or throwing. If you're a hitter, are you doing things that kind of counteract hitting hours upon hours upon hours on the tee, right? Everybody has their own recovery plan, and it has to be unique to you and how you respond to the game, okay? So I think from my end, my job is to keep you healthy, because what I don't want is for you to be on the table, right? Because if you're on the table, and these guys are coming to watch you play, and you're not at 100%, it's really, really, really hard to get recruited when you're on the bench, right? Like if you're in with an elbow pain because you had elbow pain that started at the beginning of the season, you waited till the summer to talk to somebody about it. For me, that's really hard to tell you that you're probably going to be ready for the fall ball, or what, I guess if we look at high school baseball, winter pain, you have pain in your elbow in the winter, it doesn't do you any justice to go into the summer or into the spring and the summer at 90%, because over the course of the season, you're going to break down. The same thing at this age group. When we look at this age group, you guys throw more and you train more often sometimes than the pros do, right? You guys go and play multiple games during the weekend. You might play a couple games during the week. And the difference between you and them is that you do not have the things, the recovery process set up for yourself. So I think that's the primary thing that I think I preach the most in here, is just the recovery process, knowing what you have to do to keep yourself healthy. Because otherwise, like I was saying, you're not in front of these guys when they come in, right? So most of the PT work that I do, at least in this facility, is arms, elbows, shoulders. We get a lot of back. Baseball players rotate a decent amount. So keeping an eye on those things, because knees and ankles and hips in baseball tend to not be a problem. We tend to be able to recover those, and those tend to be play-through injuries. But when we start having consistent elbow, consistent shoulder, consistent back pain, those are all things that we kind of need to be very aware of throughout the season, because playing more baseball with those symptoms doesn't always mean you're going to get better, okay? Do you guys have any questions for me as a rehab professional? Because I think a lot of times, too, I think parents and kids have more questions for what I do and how I can help, rather than me just kind of teach you guys or tell you guys what I do. Does anybody have any questions? Any questions? Perfect.
It's about as quick and concise as it could have been. That was great. All right, we're doing great. We're about 2 minutes late on this whole thing. What I want to do, guys, is open up like the next 10 minutes for you guys to ask the college coaches, Mike, Juan, the recruiting guys, questions. If you've got questions for us in our programs, I think most of you guys here are doing stuff with us already. You guys can save that for the end. I want to use this time to ask them questions. So if you've got anything for either Piedmont or Emory or anything on the recruiting side, go ahead and stand up, voice yourself, direct your question to one of the coaches, and I'll throw the mic at them so they can answer.
Yeah, I didn't mention velocity and, what we were looking at, in pitching. And I think with those four things I referenced, the better the stuff is, the higher level of success you're going to have. I think all of our pitchers want to throw. Believe me, we care about velocity, but it doesn't trump the strike zone, right? We've all had pitchers that are, harder throwers at our level, but don't have success because they spray the strike zone. And if you can't command the baseball, that's not really a usable arm in a leverage situation. So command has to come first, but they're all important. As far as what a young pitcher can do, I think some of these kind of programs that they do here with developing velocity, but it's also about developing repeatable delivery, How strong can you be? How fast do you recover? Where can you see those gains, right? I was here before we got started and just looking at some of their graphics here, right? You see the velocity increases by pitchers that are using these programs, right? Those are metrics that they're tracking just with a radar gun, right? They track a lot of metrics, but by investing in it year round, right? Dave referenced it about players, high school players not training during the season. We tell our guys all the time, we lift all year. If a major league player didn't lift because they were playing a game, right? They wouldn't lift a weight all year. They play 162 games in 185 days. You have to lift in season, right? You have to train. It's a little bit easier for a pitcher sometimes to lift in season because you might have a little bit more time between appearances, but that speaks to our position players too. You got to get in there and lift. We lift on game days if it's our day to lift. We may alter the program that day because we're playing in that evening. We may do it later in the day, or we may adjust the program. But the strength piece, Coach referenced something he could go back. If I could go back to that age, it would be work harder in the weight room and get as strong as possible. Flexible, strong, repeatable delivery, right? Endurance, those kind of things that I wished at 15, 16 years old that I would go back and do again.
Yeah, we just developed something a year ago. We wrote up a program about nutritional habits that young guys should follow. A lot of young guys don't have a lot of knowledge in putting food or energy in their body and how often to do it and how hard workouts burn all those calories and you need to keep refueling. So we have a packet we give out. I think I give it out in the first week or two of the program that has some good guidelines about, meals to eat per day, calorie intake, good foods to eat, bad foods to avoid, and things like that. But that's a constant conversation throughout the training period where we're like, hey, man, you've been eating today? You feel weak? What you eating? I didn't eat breakfast is usually the answer I get. That's got to change, guys. You got to start getting breakfast into you to get that first meal into you and get that metabolism going. So, yeah, we do touch on it a lot, and I give out a packet with some knowledge in the beginning there. So knowledge is key, right?
Coach Scally, can you speak a little bit about what you do for your guys? Like, we don't have a licensed dietitian here, guys. So we obviously have to be careful about the advice we give. We can't give too much written advice and stuff on the app. It's got to be generic, like Coach Shannon said. But what do you guys do at Piedmont talking to your players about the nutrition side? What does that look like at the college level?
Yeah, I think breakfast is a big one too. We have group me like everyone does. We have a separate group me that we call Breakfast Club. We lift in the mornings, and our players have to take a picture of what they're eating after the workout every day and post it. It just adds a layer of accountability there. We weigh our players on the 15th of every month, right? We have a goal. They have to put a goal weight in every time too. And a lot of times we can reference, we can go back and look at least what they're eating for breakfast and make sure they're getting the refueling that they need because of how much they are burning when they do actually commit in the weight room. That's one way we can do about it. We have similar resources at our place where we can provide dietary options for them, different things they can try. I'm not a dietitian either, but one thing I always tell our players is if you're not writing down everything you're eating and you're not tracking it, it's hard to know what's working. If you don't track what you're eating regularly for weeks or a month or 2 months, it's hard to know, does this work? Right? We had a very small infielder a couple of years ago. He was a great player, but he weighed about 145 pounds, right? Small guy. And I asked him to ask our third baseman, who was like 220 pounds. He's playing in the Frontier League right now. And I said, tell him what you eat in a day. And he said, I have 4 full meals and 6 to 8 Uncrustables a day. And the little guy was like, it's like a week's worth of food for him, right? So not that guy needed to eat at that level, but you have to understand kind of what the intake needs to be to just retain and not lose weight, right? We weigh our players, but we're also tracking average team weight every month too. and we try really hard just to maintain throughout the season. If we can maintain our team weight January 15th, if it's the same on May 15th, per player average, I think we're doing a great job, because you will lose weight in season. It's almost impossible not to lose some weight in season, especially for our position players, especially for the everyday position players.
Jason, that get your question there? Brandon, you had a question.
Yeah, if you're looking at a player from a recruiting standpoint, do you value high school baseball, varsity high school baseball, or travel ball? Do you look at one more than the other? Does one matter when you're trying to be recruited?
Bobby, you want to speak to that a little bit? Did you hear his question? Did you need to repeat it?
No, I got it. I mean, I think at least, look, for us, it's the ability to see them play. Well, we tend to see guys play more in the summer than we do their high school season, just because our seasons run concurrently. Doesn't mean we don't see guys play. But pretty much every guy we recruit, we're going to talk to both the high school coach and the summer ball coach. They're both, equally important in our eyes. As many conversations as we can have about the individual, not just find out about them as a player, but as a person, teammate, student, what they're like walking around the halls of school. But obviously most of the evaluation stuff, for us anyway, comes in the summer. Don't have the biggest staffs. We can't run guys out to high school games all the time. We see some, but a lot of the times we're seeing them in the summertime, but talking to all those guys that are associated to in their baseball life.
And I'll go ahead and add to that too, Brandon, and for everybody else here, Coach Scally and I have kept in touch pretty heavily the last, 15 years since I was playing. And I can tell you that his program specifically, and I know this is the case for other programs too, he's recruited guys who have been fourth outfielders and turned into All-Americans. He's recruited guys that did not play in high school and just played travel ball and went on to play college baseball. He's recruited guys that were All-American high school players and then turned out to be great players for him. So I think a lot of people get hopped up on, what team do I play on? I'm not starting, or I am starting, or whatever. And I think, like Bobby said, college coaches want to see you play, and they're going to make their assessment. How you stack up for your 6-4-3 team or your high school team, there's such a talent gap in high school that I think these guys do a very good job of understanding that and just trying to get an unbiased view on, hey, can this player play for us? So tell me if I'm wrong in that assessment, guys, but that's what I see on the development side. We get a lot of people that come to me and, Coach, I didn't make my team this year. And it's like, okay, man, well, I know you, and I know you can play at the next level, so we're going to figure out how to do that. So take that with a grain of salt, but that's something that I see on this side too. Other questions? Trey, you're up.
Sure, yeah, good question. I think yes and no, right? So if you play on a great summer team, I think that helps. There's probably going to be a relationship that we already have there with your coach, especially in this area, so we can know more about your son sooner, which can help. But that doesn't mean I'm not going to go watch a team because their summer record is 1-6, especially if we heard, hey, you got to go watch the third baseman for this team playing at Lake Point at 9 o'clock. So if that reference who's telling me to go watch the kid play, I'm not just going to turn away from that because the summer team isn't as strong as some of the others. If you're a good ball player, I truly believe that we'll find you, or a college coach will find you if you go about your business the right way and you're a good ball player. So,
and I would piggyback on that and say that probably rings even more true for the high school baseball player, because sometimes people don't have a lot of say-so in which high school team they play for. So if your team or organization is not very good, hey, this is where I go to high school. So coaches understand that too, and that's why we have travel ball and high school ball and camps and clinics and all these things.
Real quick, thank you for all of this. All your information has been just tremendous. The depth and detail has been awesome. So thank you. Covered a lot of ground. Question about
Yeah, absolutely. I can speak specific to Piedmont, right? Like Emory may have different timelines, right? Every school is going to have different admissions timelines, right? So we're more open in admissions. So, there's not a hard deadline of when you need to apply by and those kind of things. But for the most part, recruiting is timing in general, meaning your skill set against that program you may be interested in and what are their needs in that class, right? Take catching, for example. If we have a lot of younger catchers right now that we're excited about, and we don't graduate a catcher this season. In 27, we will not graduate a catcher. So we're not going to be as aggressive in recruiting catchers this past summer when we're looking at players than we might have been a year ago when we wanted to bring in more depth. That doesn't mean we haven't seen catchers that might, in an ordinary year, be the right kind of fit and the right kind of player for us, but maybe the need is a little bit less in that given year. So your skill set against that program's need is a big part of that timing. I would tell you at the Division III level, there's no binding letter of intent, so the timeline's a little more open-ended. We've had guys commit all the way up until the summer. We had a guy commit a couple weeks ago, and we had guys commit back in September. We don't typically get commitments from like a 28, let's say, right now. We're not usually 2 years out. We typically operate a year to a year and a half out. It's for us, and Coach may be different, even though we're in the same level, but that's what the timeline looks for us. We kind of have an idea, Coach and I, of how many guys we want to bring in each kind of position group, and we're going to work to make sure we make enough offers to get enough commitments based on kind of that breakdown.
Mike, do you want to add to that too, potentially going up D2, D1, and what that looks like there too? I know that may differ a little bit.
Well, it is unscripted. A lot of it is about need. 1 year a D1 program or a D2 program or D3, any program may need to bring in 8 or 9 guys, and next year they may only need to bring in 3 or 4. You do see at the higher levels a lot less high school guys being taken now because of the portal. There are Division I programs out there right now that don't really, they're keeping lists of high school guys just in case, but they're going after the portal guys. So the higher you go up, probably the less opportunity there is. I am finding that coaches are taking a little bit longer to make decisions on guys just because the fact that they can't always go to the portal. So, I hope that helps, but it's so different now. It's so different. My job used to be a lot more fun than it is now, but I'm sure their job was more fun too before.
From my perspective, talking to all these players, guys, different schools all over, Atlanta, generally speaking, guys are committing to play later than they used to. Everybody used to preach, junior year, it's your huge year. Junior fall, you're going to get seen. And your junior year is still as big, but there's more and more guys that are committing further into their senior year than I've seen, at least. You guys may be seeing something different. Any other questions? Don't be shy, guys.
Is there any walk-on type of thing these days?
Say that again?
Walking on, like to a...
Yeah. I'm going to let Juan talk here a little bit because talk about the schools you've coached at, Juan. I know it's several different schools and just what you've seen over the years with the walk-ons and stuff.
So I've coached, I don't know if this is working. I've coached at all levels. I coached at Old Dominion University at Appalachian State. I've been the head baseball coach at Eckerd College in St. Pete, Division II. I've been the head coach at Barry University, Miami Shores, Florida, Division II. I've been the head coach at Rowan University up in New Jersey, Division III. So I've kind of seen everything as far as what they do. As far as walk-ons, it's getting harder for Division I because they get 34 roster spots and they pretty much have an idea what and who they're going to take for those 34. Some schools may still have tryouts, open tryouts. At the Division II and Division III level, you do have tryouts that kids can go to and try to make the team. At the Division II level, you're able to actually, as a after you start your senior year, have workouts with a Division II program. So you have to provide a physical, and you have to sign a waiver, and then basically you can go and work out with a team for no more than 2 hours, but you can work out with the actual team, and that gives coaches a really good understanding of where you fit in their program and if you could be somebody that can help them.
Does that answer your question?
Awesome. What else, guys? Lots of good stuff here. Nothing else? Okay, we'll be hanging around after, so if you guys have anything that's more individual, you can ask that.